Today, you can open a business in an extra room at your house and actually sell goods out of your house all the way to other countries. It depends what country, what continent you want to sell on. It's absolutely an incredible opportunity for you as an individual. It's called a dynamic global market. You'll see the teeny tiny country companies can actually sell anywhere. Numerous students in my class have actually opened up a drop ship business where they're buying things from China on Alibaba and then turn around and selling them over here to the United States, making substantial profit and never once touching the goods. 100% integrated system where they're buying stuff over here, have it directly shipped to their end consumers, and they act as a middle person, getting different items and collecting a nice big size bonus. One of them was making $180,000 a year. Shoot, that's a lot of money, but especially for the fact that they're working and not touching anything. They're just doing electronic transactions that take about 3 to 4 hours for each transaction from beginning to completion. So it depends what it's all out there. If you look over here, you'll see that our population somewhere about 7.9 billion to 8 billion on planet Earth, and you have a couple things that are involved with trade: import and export. Import, you're buying products from another country and you're bringing it into your country. Export, you're making them in your country and you're selling them to another country. Now, we'll talk about some of the implications, what that is, but I want to hear a little chant coming from you. This sounds really cheesy, and I apologize. Wait a minute. I don't apologize. You're learning something that's really different. Import, buy, export, sell. Import, buy, export, sell. Have that in your head. Import, you're going to buy something. When you export it, you're going to make it and sell. So import, buy, export, sell. It really works because as soon as you get in the middle of it, you can get it confused, even if you're a college professor for multiple years. Global sports, you'll see all kinds of different aspects of global sports. You'll see different American football teams playing in England and Germany. You'll see the NBA playing across planet Earth. You'll see a lot of different athletes coming from across Earth, and you'll see them rising up from amateur sports and hockey from one nation and all of a sudden playing in Canada or the United States. You'll see NBA players coming from Africa, from Asia, from wherever, playing in the United States. You'll see the whole scramble, and you're seeing other teams rising up with different sports leagues happening in other countries. Japan now has a giant baseball franchise happening throughout their country. They love the game, and in some ways, we often sit down and see some superstars coming out of Japan being recruited by American teams. So you'll see the world is global on everything. The sports, you really have, if you look here on the map, you'll see the different population ratios, where they're all at, from North America all the way to Asia and other continents that we have. The growth keeps on growing rapidly, except it slowed down a little bit this last couple of years. We actually have a population that's shrinking a little bit. We'll see. Some of the best countries for business, a little bit surprising: the UK, Sweden, Hong Kong, Netherlands, New Zealand, Canada, and so on. And if you look at some of the world's billionaires, this is a really strange chart, isn't it? The most are in the United States, followed by China. Now, wait a minute. Remember we talked about the Chinese philosophy? They are a communist party. Communist party, everybody shares everything equally, unless you're the top echelon, and then it's not equal. What's equal for them is not equal for the poor, downtrodden individual. Yes, you can't be a billionaire and a communist at the same time. You can't do it. The definitions don't fit. So this is really, it's not an aberration. China has always had multiple billionaires, and I'll bet a lot of them wield a lot of power, maybe in government. Who knows? India, pay attention to India. India is a rapidly rising country. They have a lot of intelligent people working there. They have a capitalist system. It's advancing at a much more rapid rate in the last decade than anything we've seen from China even. You'll see Germany. Germany just surpassed Russia for the number of billionaires. Russia has lost a lot because of their foolishness in trying to invade Ukraine. The United Kingdom's right there, Italy, Canada. So you'll see really the numbers really make a lot of sense when you start looking at the wealth of the nations individually. Ideally, you want to have free trade, maybe. So it depends what free trade really is. If you had free trade, you would eliminate all barriers. Therefore, you can import, export across everything with no hidden fees or anything else, except a lot of times you'll see trade barriers put up. The most popular described as tariffs. Okay, we're going to charge 25% taxes for anybody that ships goods into our country from this country over here. And so you'll have this disparity, 25, 15% over, 10% over, and none for you because you're a buddy. So you have this real hodgepodge of different type of tariffs that are out there, different things. Or you might not charge anything for tariffs, except for the fact that you have a culture like Japan. They don't like American rice. They like Japanese rice. Well, even though it's exactly the same thing, it goes against their grain to buy American rice. I know, I just thought I mentioned that. Anyway, so that being said, you'll see, even though we may talk a lot about free trade, it doesn't always happen the way it's supposed to be. Countries with abundant natural resources, like Venezuela, they have lots of them. They need technological resources, but Venezuela has a dictatorial government. It's not even close to communism or anything else. So they have that. So they sit down and they manipulate their natural resources for money and cash to actually spend their country because their inflation is so rampant. Look at some of the pros and cons. Okay, the pros, you got a giant planet with almost 8 billion people. Productivity grows when a country has a comparative advantage. So, in other words, some countries can actually grow a lot of citrus food because of the fact that citrus grows in warm climates. But what if you're Sweden and don't have a warm climate? Well, they have different aspects of their natural resources they can trade with other countries that will sit down and offset the differences. So you'll see that comparative advantage happening. The global competition, there's a lot of less costly imports that can help keep prices down. And the cons, the only thing is, whenever you start having free trade, you may lose jobs like we have in the United States. In the United States right now, we have this 80-20% ratio with 80% of our really industries being in the service sector and only 20% in manufacturing. That is a big deal, and we should be paying attention to that because of the fact that most of our jobs in manufacturing have been shipped off to other countries with lower costs. So we start about free trade, all of a sudden, yes, you may have free trade, and free trade lets consumer goods come into the country as you import, buy, but on export, sell, it doesn't quite work that way because we don't have a lot of manufacturing compared to others. Comparative advantage, so you start looking at a country, they sell to other goods those products it produces the most efficient and buys from those it can't produce as effectively or efficiently. A lot of times in the United States, we buy a lot of agricultural items from Mexico, which generally has a solid climate, good for growing a lot of different aspects the entire year round. They have a comparative advantage. And then sometimes, if you look at an absolute advantage, you have really, if you want to get diamonds, you end up going to South Africa because that's where almost all the diamonds are, the real diamonds. So that being said, you also have a comparative advantage, maybe even an absolute advantage to some extent on the rare earths used for batteries when it comes down to the rare earths in China. China produces right now 78% of the rare earths needed, nickel, cadmium, and lithium for batteries, except that number used to be 82% because people are searching around trying to find alternatives to China and they're finding them. And eventually, that comparative advantage that China has will shrink even further, and we'll see really more countries profiting from the sale of those rare earths for lithium batteries, primarily for cars. So that being said, who does the U.S. owe? When we sell goods to other countries, they accumulate it, and you have this offset debt. So we owe money to other countries. So you have Ireland, Brazil, United Kingdom, but look at China. It's huge, even bigger than Japan. So we're debtors to those nations. So know about the aspect of comparative advantage, know about free trade where there's no barriers at all coming in. The advantage of that is typically consumers can buy goods really inexpensively, but you have a problem. The offset is if you're not buying goods from your own people, your neighbor down the street, that you may get a good deal over here, but your neighbor may lose their job in the process. Import, sell, import, buy. Pay attention to that. And we'll dive more into the concept of global markets. Take care.